Okay, so I know that some people introduced themselves last week. I think most people here know me, but in case there's anybody that doesn't, I'm Charlie. I'm the coaching director here at CERT. Um, I've been running primarily as exercise as my main, like not just exercise, but competitive outlet for 6 or 7 years. Before that, I dabbled in triathlons, and before that, I raced bikes for a while. And actually worked as a bike messenger. So you can kind of see the progression. I was on bikes, and then I tried some triathlons, and I was like, oh, I actually really like running. So, but I've been involved in endurance sports since I graduated from college. Basically, I played club lacrosse in college, and needed something to do, so I wouldn't gain a bunch of weight, and got with running. So before I was with I've been in with a couple other clubs. Been with Cirque for 3 years now. I'm a running coach. I'm a ACE certified personal trainer. I actually was a little late jumping on today because I got carried away doing some continuing education stuff. So it was all for all of your benefit. And that's me. I'm Charlie. I think I'm pretty recognizable. If you see me, say hi. But I know that as any other new coaches on here, I see Brenda and Penny and Terry. I think you guys all introduced yourselves last week, right?
Penny and I both did. Brenda has her hands full here, so maybe we'll have her introduce herself next week.
Totally fair. Okay, so I know that a lot of you have did the virtual mile last week, and was that last weekend? Yes, 10 days ago. Looks like it was great. I saw 101 people signed up. 100 people did it. I know who the one person was. It was me. So, so a lot of you are probably wondering, like, what's next in the training plan? Well, obviously, if you're looking at your training plan, you can see the mileage is going to continue to increase. Luckily, we have a long time. Season is longer than most of our seasons, so there is much more time to build. The plans don't really cap out any or that much higher than they do in a normal Cirque season. There's just kind of a slower build there, which I think is good. So the first important thing to do is just to make sure that you're sticking to that plan. I know that it's not like insanely sexy. I think we talked about 2 weeks ago where we had our first session, but there's no replacement for consistency. It's like the most important thing in training for endurance sports is just
I get us. I brush my teeth. I pick my school clothes.
extended time.
Not down with that, please.
Making sure that you're not like missing extended time, making sure you're getting all the runs in, both the volume. Like you might think like, okay, well, maybe I can, if I miss one like 3 mile run, I can add 1 mile to each of my other runs. Then you're going to end up having 4 days off that week, and I'm going to be the density of runs. So how many runs you do per week or per month or anything is also very important. It's all about trying to like control trying to balance like your training against your recovery. So obviously number one is follow the plan. Number two is not yet, but by Sunday, if you go to the website, you will see that we have new and exciting quality workouts designed around this progression. Just finishing those up right now. It's been a weird couple of weeks. And your mile time trial is actually going to play into how you do those workouts. Can I have a screen share? How does that work? Can somebody give me the power, or can I just do it? Oh, I can just do it. All right. Oh, nope, I can't do it. It's okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that 1 mile time. Now, I want to emphasize that, like, maybe you didn't feel great that 1 mile. Maybe it's going to be hot one day on the day that you do your quality workout. So I still always want people to, like, run within themselves. I don't ever want to be obsessed with hitting, like, specific numbers or specific splits. It's really more about, like, kind of, like, putting in the correct effort level. So let's say that next week, your first workout, now some of us are training for another mile. Some of us are training for a 5K. It might be something like, I'm going to do all the workouts this season in time instead of distance, because none of us have track access really, and we're not meeting at the track. But it might be something like 3 by 2 minutes at 5K pace with 2 minutes recovery, and then 3 by 30 seconds at mile pace with 1 minute recovery, right? So it's going to be, maybe there'll be different paces in these workouts. I'll try not to make them too complicated. I'll keep it as simple as possible. But what you're going to want to do, and I will send out a link to this calculator in an email, in a newsletter email before our next Tuesday coaching session, is you're going to go to a website, and actually, can you maybe make me the host, and I'll just also pay attention to the, so I don't know if I could, or can you enable screen sharing, Terry?
It's not at the bottom.
It is at the bottom, but it says the host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, well, hold on. There you go.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. I'll keep an eye on the people waiting as well. Okay, so I'm gonna share. Stop calling me. This screen. Boom. Can you guys see my screen? Not yet. Now can you see my screen?
Yes.
It's kind of,
Okay.
yep.
Is it Snowy Vista right now, or is it?
Jack Daniels.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. Heck yeah. Sorry. Pardon me. So I like the Jack Daniels calculator because he's really pessimistic about race times. I do not love the Daniels calculator because I think he's just kind of trying to. I mean, everybody has, it's all their own math and based on where they think different intervals should fall on your theoretical VO2 max, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter, really. I just like the Jack Daniels calculator because it's the most pessimistic and I think it's the most accurate. I would much rather you be training a little bit slow than a little bit fast. So you can see this. So let's say I have given up all hope of being able to race this mile race I was training for. In fact, I've stopped training for it because I don't think we're going to have any racing anytime soon. But let's say that I had done this mile race and I had accomplished my goal. So I go here, plug in. Wow, great job, Charlie. You did it. You can see, you can ignore this training tab because all I'm going to do is say, like, you want to do X thing at 5K pace. You want to do X thing at 10K pace. You want to do X thing at half marathon pace. So I might say, okay, what's a kind of a bog standard workout? Might be like later in the season, you might do like 4 by 1,000 and then 4 by 200. Obviously, we'll do this all as time. So I would say that for me would probably be at 5K pace. So I would say, okay, 4 by, call it 3.5 minutes. And then at mile pace, at 200 at that is like 40 seconds. So, and then 4 by 40 seconds. But this is how you're going to figure out the paces. And in fact, if you've ever asked a coach, at least in Columbus, like, hey, what paces should I be running for my workouts? And we've been like, oh, give us a second. We're just going and plugging the numbers into one of these calculators, which are all pretty close to each other. And there's some like complicated math behind them. But essentially, you can, so this is interesting. Everything from the mile up basically uses the same training systems. Like there's some tweaking, or the same energy systems. There's some tweaking around like really specializing in different things. But like you can pretty accurately predict basically anything from your mile or 5K time, assuming that you've run the volume necessary. Like obviously you can't race as a marathon at your peak potential if you haven't run the miles. So that's what these calculators are based on, is just figuring out, assuming the max effort is what you're putting in time-wise, and then figuring out your hypothetical VO2 max from there, which don't worry about, and then calculating that. What I'm trying to say is it's accurate. So this is what you're going to use when you see those quality workouts published. to figure out your paces. And then when it is time to do those paces, I'm going to stop sharing now. You guys have seen it. That's when you're going to take that time, put it into the calculator. Then after the 4th of July, or the 4th of July weekend, I think 4th of July is a Saturday, when we do our virtual race / the Hilltop USA virtual 5K, if you're planning on signing up for that, that is when you will then go in and update those values, right? So the idea is that you do some training, you go run a race, you see that you improved, and then you base your new training off of that. But like I said, I don't ever want you to take, when you see these quality workouts, and when we get to next Tuesday's coaching session, we will go over the specific workout. I'll have something more specific for each like kind of training level, including the run walk people. And so we can talk about more of the details, but I do want to emphasize that when you do this stuff, you still have to listen to yourself a little bit, especially the weather warms up. It's fully warmed up at this point. Maybe not fully. I guess hotter days are yet to come. But, if you can't get out till the evening and it's 88 degrees, I'm sorry, but your 5K pace is not going to be the same as it is when it's 58 at 7:30 on a Saturday morning. Like, it just isn't. So you do still have to listen to your body a little bit, but that's going to be the guideline we're going to start with. Did that all make sense? Yes? Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any questions about anything else?
I just wanted to say real quick, I didn't get to say this in the beginning, but we are we are recording this session, and we also have Katie, who has been here the past few weeks, Katie White from OSU, but we also have Melissa Gallatin on. She is another one of our OSU PTs, and if you would like to talk to them directly in private, we can arrange that. So just let us know, and then if you feel free to just ask questions or type them in the chat, and we can answer them as they come in.
Becky, yes, that is exactly what you will do. And it will say, so if you don't mind me asking, I can look it up. I'm just going to ask, what did you run for your mile race?
Hey, I ran a 10:50.
Perfect.
It was hot.
And like I said, you know what? Temperature makes a big difference. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and just do this. Okay, so I'm Becky, 10:50. Guess what your pace is? That's right, 10:50. So you'll go down here and you'll say, okay, so let's say it was that 3 by 2 minutes at 5K pace. Well, you would do 3 by 2 minutes at about an 11:30 mile.
Okay.
And then you would go down. And the nice thing about using time is that, let's say that I assign a 1,000. Well, that's going to hit a very different system for me. 1K at 5K pace for me is, I don't know, it doesn't matter how long it is, 3 some odd minutes. But by assigning it by time, you know what I mean? We're both getting the same amount of work at the same effort level, which is more important. It's kind of problematic to assign for distance because of that. But, so then you would take that pace, boom, or I'm sorry, 11:30, do 3 by 2 minutes, 11:30. You would do a prescribed, just like when we do our normal Cirque Wednesday night speed work or quality workouts, you'll have a prescribed recovery interval. The only difference is we're going to do everything by time this season because of problems with track access and us just not meeting. So then maybe you have 3 by 30 seconds at your mile pace. Well, you might be thinking oh, that's annoying because I have to well, no, you don't have to do any math. You just do 3 by 30 seconds at 10:50. So the effort you put in for your mile.
Now, will these times adjust or change with our training and as we become stronger?
Oh yeah. The great thing about the way this season is structured, and honestly, I love the way I know that I've talked to a lot of you, like if you know me, you know that I race frequently, even while I'm training for a bigger race, because I enjoy it, one, but also because I think it's really good to get an idea of where you are, and kind of see, and it's also nice to like break up the monotony and kind of see yourself improve over the course of a long block of training. But yeah, so because we are gradually increasing the distance of our races here, because we're gradually increasing the distance of those races, we can actually just like start out with the shorter, harder reps, and then, harder, but shorter reps, and then gradually lengthen that out till all of a sudden you do find you have the fitness for that 10K or half marathon at the end of the season. We're going to keep, like, every couple of weeks, you might still be like, oh, okay, here's a little bit of stuff at 5K pace, because you don't want to totally forget how to run fast. But yes, we are going to progress throughout the season, kind of build up over the course of this race series.
So is this something we could revisit at the 5K? Is that what you're saying? Do our 1 mile and then revisit that?
Yes, you will revisit it based on your time in each virtual race. Now, you might sometimes find, so the fun thing about, there are no good fluke races. You can have a bad fluke. You were up late last night because you have a sick kid. You had digestive issues because you accidentally went to Roosters the night before. There's a million reasons you can have a bad race.
Fell into Roosters.
Right, exactly, yes. Right, I've been there like 3 times in the past 2 weeks. There's no good fluke. There's no day where you went out and you ran faster than you actually can run, because it's not possible. If you run a certain time, you ran that time. That is what you are capable of that. So then if you, like, let's say that I go out and I run a 19-minute and 59-second 5K, and then 3 weeks later I run a 21:10 5K. Well, it's not like I am now, like, I've lost all this fitness, you know what I mean? It's more like how I had a bad day. But it's not like that I had such a good day that's not replicable the first time. Your body only has the capacity that it has, and if you can do it once, it's repeatable. So we may find that on the next day, especially 4th of July weekend, who knows what's going to be going on, that you don't have as good of a day, and the time actually comes out slower than what you might have, than even what would have predicted by your mile race before your block of training. Well, that's okay. You know, like, we'll still probably keep, in that case, you would email me and we would keep using that mile time initially, because I know you're not losing fitness because you're following the training plan and you haven't been hurt, you haven't missed large blocks of time. So, and then we try again next time. But yeah, so it'll be something that you continually reassess.
Fantastic, thanks.
This will be a really good, you could to use a timer like we're doing with the run walk, you know, so you could set up your that whole workout on a timer.
Yes.
Or on an app.
Yes, if you have
That'd be awesome.
You can set the timer up there. There are tons of phone apps that you can use to set up timers as well. Yeah, I actually do occasionally when I do set up the Garmin watch workouts, just because like I forget what I'm doing in the middle of a workout or how many things I've done because I'm an idiot. And it just like beeps automatically when it's time to go. So, but yeah, there are tons of apps and stuff. If you run with your phone, it's actually much easier because there's a million apps. You don't have to fiddle around with your watch or the website or something. So, and then hopefully someday we'll be able to go back to the track and kind of transition back to that. But yeah, for now we're going to do entirely time-based. Anything else I can help you guys with?
I have a question for Katie.
What's up?
So last week when we were talking about treadmills, at the end of it, I had asked about form on a treadmill. And there's a reason I asked that, because we have a member that I didn't want to ask questions last week without getting her permission. So I talked to her, she said, I'm clear to ask you. She has a vertical bounce that is very prominent in the like winter because she spends so much time on the treadmill. At least that's like kind of what her and I have determined. She says that she does run close to the front. Like during the summertime when she's outside more, it basically kind of goes away. So that's kind of why I asked about form, and I'm wondering if you have any suggestions or ideas that we can pass along.
So is she then now wanting to run more on like the sidewalks versus the treadmill?
Well, she's outside more in the summer. It's just
Okay.
Okay. She's going to continue to use the treadmill in that way. So how can she like better adjust her form?
Yeah. There's a couple different cues that we'll typically use to kind of prevent that vertical displacement. Kind of like an easy thing that we will, I guess, first address is like it more like her cadence, like how many steps she takes in a minute. So if she's taking fewer steps, she's more likely to kind of get that up and down movement versus more that that horizontal movement. So see, like have her count how many steps she takes in a minute. A lot of the times, like if you just want to pick like one leg, count how many in a minute and then multiply it by 2. Most of the time, if it's a little bit lower, all she would have to do is potentially increase that number by like say 5%, 5 to 10% is usually like the range that we will recommend. And that almost kind of forces you to land a little bit more, we'll take more steps, which then will promote more of that horizontal movement versus vertical. Melissa, do you have any other cues that you'll typically use with like the gait analysis and whatnot?
Yeah, so sometimes if they do have a lot of that up and down, you can tell them, pretend like it's a lower ceiling and that you're not, you're expending a lot of energy going upward. So most runners want to go forward. So I explained that it's not a very efficient way to run. So using that kind of low ceiling and trying to you can also kind of think of landing softly, and that sometimes that low ceiling along with that landing softly can kind of help some of that. And it can be, I know I tend to run up far on the treadmill. I've fallen off a couple times, so I tend to run up. So you do get a little bit more of that up and down movement. But yeah, just trying to have her kind of even think of like running smoothly in that low ceiling, and also just like Katie said, checking cadence and making sure that she's not changing that when she's on the treadmill.
There's another drill too, just to work on more like that leaning forward posture, because a lot of the times if you're more upright or even leaning back, that will make you kind of do that up and down movement. So if she has like, I don't know, just like a couple, like a straightaway, even like in a hallway or something like that, she would go from like a standstill and kind of act as if she was falling forward, and right before she would potentially lose her balance, go into like a jog. And so that kind of will be a cue. Okay, this is where I should be posture-wise, a little bit forward, but not obviously too severe to where she would potentially lose her balance. But that's just kind of something, okay, this is my reference for where I should be posture-wise, trunk-wise, and then she'll be able to kind of remember that when she's going and running either on the treadmill or on the sidewalk or outside, that, okay, this is where I should be, or this is where I am. So that's another one I like to give to people.
Super helpful. Thank you. I have another question, but I don't want to dominate this. So this one is actually for Katie, Melissa, Charlie, any of the coaches. I have in my past, I struggle a little bit with the marriage between CrossFit and half marathon training. Two hard things, marrying them together, making sure that athletes have enough rest and recovery between. And I did ask this person's permission as well, if I could ask about it. So what advice do you all have in regards to how to navigate that? Make sure you're not doing too much is like really the concern.
You guys can go first.
I think it depends on like how many days a week, I guess. because I mean, you wouldn't want to do like a really hard, like a HIIT workout or a cross train workout, say potentially on the same day that you're doing like an interval run workout or even like a long run. So I would potentially try and offset those days, like maybe try and do that on either like as like a cross train day or on one of like a shorter, just easy run day. What you just have to kind of monitor is making sure that they are recovering, because, you know, even if you're alternating days, if you have a stretch of 7 days where you're potentially doing like higher level or intense exercise, that's something that you want to consider. So, I mean, I don't know a ton about like CrossFit in terms of like frequency per week. I don't know if that's kind of like an individual person's choice. But I would just kind of consider that, like, definitely don't do them both on the same day, and just make sure, I mean, like feel wise, that you're recovering, you're not having just like soreness or pain that just lasts, you know, just because you're not getting like a day of complete rest or a day of just like an easy exercise or cross train day.
Yeah, I agree, Katie. Just making sure like the rest. I mean, I think, you know, a rest day during the week is going to be very important if they're, you know, doing some, you know, cross training or some CrossFit and half marathon training. I think, you know, at least, you know, getting that day of rest and recovery. Sorry about that. And I think just even modifying it. I mean, you know, the CrossFit is great because it's going to be building strength, which is, you know, sometimes what a lot of runners will lack. So I think that can be beneficial for them, but just kind of doing it safely, making sure, like Katie said, you know, you don't want to have hard workout.
If I can get familiar with the way you talk.
Sorry.
A hard CrossFit day and like a hard workout. You wouldn't want to have those in the same day. Making sure that you're kind of, you know, you have like your hard run day, but then having, you know, your recovery day the next day. And again, having that not be a real heavy like CrossFit day. And then having if you want more of that heavy CrossFit day, having at least 1 day of rest in between, so that you're giving your body some recovery time. And I think you just need to kind of set your, you know, your goals. Which one are you really trying to achieve, like your, you know, kind of personal bests in? If that's the, you know, if it's running, then you want more of the focus with that. If it's more with the CrossFit, then the running would probably kind of take the back seat. So just having her kind of pick, him or her, which one is, you know, kind of the one that she's really focusing on and spending time. And again, I think the CrossFit can be a helpful thing. It helps build strength, which a lot of runners can kind of shy away from. So I don't think the combination of the two is a bad thing.
Hey, hey, this is Mary. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure that I understood the direction here, because I haven't been running for a year because I had some weird stuff going on in my legs and my feet. So I gave myself a whole year off. And so now I'm just coming back, and I'm really just going to do the 10K. But during my time off, I was doing a lot of, I wouldn't call it CrossFitting, but I have my own routine of some weightlifting and, you know, just all the floor exercises, and I would say weight training. And I really like my weight training. But so now I'm trying to hear, did I hear you say that I should do them both on the same day or should I always have these rest days? So I have a Tuesday and a Friday rest day and a Sunday. So those should always be rest days, and I should try to do both things on the other days.
The principle here is that you want to try to make hard days harder within reason,
Okay.
and have more days that are dedicated to recovery. Like if you have a day that's like that you have designated as a recovery day, and that might, for some people, that might be getting on the elliptical for half an hour. For some people, it might be jogging as a recovery day. For a lot of people, it's a day off. That day needs to be a recovery day. So, and because you want to prioritize, you got to remember both like strength training and running is not necessarily, like, we get in this mindset where we're like, oh, it's about the runs. But what it really is about stimulating recovery to get stronger. So you do have to have that recovery time, and absolutely, like, you can 100% and should do your strength training. If you can work it out in your schedule, I think it's beneficial to do strength training on the same day that you do a run or a harder run, or the day after, but certainly never the day before.
Okay, so like on this schedule, and again, like I said, I'm doing the least amount as possible because I don't want to be injured anymore, because I really missed running, and for some reason, and I want to talk about that too if we have time to talk about shoes. So on my schedule, Thursdays are really light, so I should do my weight training on Thursdays after I do my short runs.
Yes, and I think
that's a question.
If you do your your quality workout on Wednesday, and then you get up in the morning and you do your Thursday run, and then in the evening you do your strength training, I think that gives you that full rest day Friday before either your long run or a virtual race. I think that is ideal. Yes.
Okay, so then where else could I fit one in? That would be.
I would do the other one probably on Monday. If I'm looking at if you're following the days on the schedule. Because you don't want to do it on Tuesday, because then that's the day before your quality workout. Or, I mean, we've already been emailing a little bit. I think that's you.
No, I haven't. I haven't been doing anything with you guys. I mean, just listening, but.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody else was emailing me and said they were just coming back from injury and you're off running, and
Oh well. Okay.
You're not alone.
Yeah, I'm not alone.
But yeah, so maybe you'd be looking at Tuesday. I'm sorry, at Monday. So the big thing is you definitely don't want it the day before. In our schedules, the two quality days are your long run day and your workout day. Yeah, Monday is listed as quality because in some of our plans it's like a slightly higher mileage day, but you'll never have like workouts on Monday. So that's another good day to do a strength training workout.
Okay.
So yeah, basically prioritize your Wednesday and prioritize all your runs. But if you wanted to lift 2 days a week, probably Monday and Thursday is the way to go.
Monday and Thursday. All right, thank you.
No problem. Did you have a question about shoes also, did I hear?
I really don't have a question about shoes, but I just wanted to throw this out that, I always ran in Brooks shoes. And Cindy McCarty, who I think you guys, a lot of you guys know, she runs in the Columbus group. She told me someone in the group said, and it could have been Randy, that Brooke had changed. They changed their shoes somehow, and people were having problems with them. Well, I have this weird thing that goes on with my right foot where I couldn't run anymore, and literally, my doctors can't figure it out. I never did an MRI, but I had, I went to physical therapy, and I had x-rays. But long story short, I switched shoes, and I went to New Balance, and I'll be damned if it wasn't overnight, but I don't have that weird, it was almost like a nerve pain. I don't have that weird pain in my foot anymore. And all it took was me, maybe the whole year off was helpful, but I always still had that pain until I got rid of those daggone Brooks tennis shoes or running shoes.
Yeah.
So if anybody else has ever had that with the Brooks, but.
Shoe models change all the time, and you just can't if you are truly attached to a model of shoe, when it goes on clearance, when they choose a new one, buy like 5 pairs.
Yeah.
But yeah, shoe companies, maybe it's changed for the sake of change, I don't know, but that is definitely a thing. But I'm also glad I'm a New Balance person myself, as much as I'm an anything person, so good.
Yeah.
I want to come back for a second to the cross-training discussion. The most important thing is just to, especially with CrossFit, which I know people get really into, and it has a culture that's not unlike running. I do think that you do have to prioritize CrossFit and running, because it's the CrossFit workouts can be very intense. So it's just, you do have to be careful like both Katie and Melissa said, about when you run and when you do CrossFit. And it's just like a balancing act. And I would recommend that anybody that's doing CrossFit in like a more intense or dedicated way, and also running, email, like maybe either me or a PT would probably be a good person to talk to about kind of how to find that balance, because you are going to be experiencing, if you're doing CrossFit at a high level and trying to train for a half, you're going to be maybe potentially at a higher risk of injury, and that's obviously the last thing we want. So yeah, that's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, Charlie, I would just say too, with the same along the same lines, is that, you know, CrossFit and intense exercise, that's anaerobic. So if you're going to run as well, I would definitely keep it easy. Try not to be doing, you know, lots of intervals and, you know, things like that. You want to keep it as mostly aerobic as you can. I would say to balance it out a little bit, but yeah, I think, you know, strength training is there to complement your running. It's to keep you from getting injured, but CrossFit's a whole nother level, you know, and it's a sport in itself. So it's, you know, it's doing two types of, you know, extreme types of activities, and you have to kind of balance it out a little bit. Sure, be hard and easy. So yeah, you can look at your heart rate too. I was going to say, you know, making sure you're staying in an aerobic zone most of the time when you're running. And I would also check on, you know, as far as recovery goes, along the same lines with heart rate. I like to check my heart rate variability, HRV, if anyone's ever looked into that. That's a good way to kind of see, you know, if you're recovering properly. I check it every morning just about, and it kind of gives me my morning readiness. All right, can I work a little harder today, or do I have to take this to be a little more of a recovery day? So there's some apps that you can use for that, but I just strap on a chest strap, but there's other options for that too, with regards to heart rate. But yeah, it's a good question, a good topic to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, strength training is good for runners, and I think it's often neglected, like Melissa said and like Katie has said. But it's just, you know, like anything else, you gotta find your balance.
Charlie, I have a question.
Yes.
This is kind of for you and Melissa. Because of my exercises I do for my hip that I've gotten from Melissa, and doing like the 614 class or just the classes with you, is it okay like if I do my exercises for my hip, which aren't, you know, they're hard but not hard, is it okay to do those and then that night do my, you know, my class with you, or a different, you know, kind of weight training class?
I'll let Melissa.
Because the classes that the things that I do for my hip it's not really stressful like a hard workout is.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, most of the ones I gave you are lower. They're more getting muscles activated and building some strength of them.
Okay.
But they would be fine to do. They would be a good kind of warm up muscle like exercises before you do like 614, or you could do it after for like building endurance. Either one would be fine.
Okay, good. That's what I was worried about. I wasn't sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maybe next week I'll talk a little bit, and Melissa and Katie can chime in. There are some good resources out there for kind of like easy to follow routines, or like what I call prehab, like you're doing the rehab type exercises before you're actually hurt, which I do pretty regularly, which would be like all like kind of the lower intensity, like type things, you know what I mean? Like all the bird dog and stuff. It doesn't get your heart rate up, but it's still important and all that. So maybe that's a good. And somebody asked about September 20th. So let's see, we're getting lots of activity in the chat here. That's good. Yeah, we could move that strength training for runners up potentially. I think that's.
Well, I think that, Melissa, you originally had it set as last as a way to start your recovery. Is that?
Yeah, because it's a good thing to, if you guys are ramping up training, it's not a great thing to kind of ramp up training and add strength training. It's so some of the strength training, what we could do is have because Megan Graber's, so the next talk is June 14th, and that's nutrition. I think that's an important one. We'll keep that one. But then July 19th, Megan is going to be talking on like the importance of rest, but she could possibly even touch a little bit on just some like exercises that you could do that aren't like heavy resistance, but they're exercises that you can do to kind of help prevent injury. Just some like hip, like activation and strengthening exercises. The hips are going to be like, your glutes are going to be important, even just some the calf is a pretty important muscle as well. So just kind of going over maybe a couple exercises that you guys could start in season, and then maybe keep that strength training at a later date. And that would be something after the season is over, than adding, starting your strength training. Because if you're bumping up mileage and adding strength training in, can overwhelm the body, and you could end up with an injury. So I think if we just the July 19th talk, just go over some exercises that would be good to just kind of not real heavy resistance. You're just kind of getting some muscles kind of activated, even building some endurance on them. And then on that September 20th date, going into the strength training, which after the season is over would be a great time to start that. And then once you've started that, you can continue that as you kind of go into like another season, because your body's kind of adapted to it.
I don't, by the way, want anybody to think that I'm saying be cautious. Anybody that's talked to me for any length of time knows that I'm an enthusiastic proponent of strength training for runners. That I lift regularly when the gym is open, which my gym is still not, and that I like literally teach strength training classes. So like, I'm not trying to say don't strength train. It's very good. It's just has to be approached with a healthy amount of caution. Anybody else have anything?
Just to wrap up, since we're recording, I just want to, for anybody who might be watching this after the fact, we were a little bit lower on attendance today, but we did not send the link out. So just a reminder that the link is on the website. It is the same link every single week. So if you are looking for it, please find it there. And then as Melissa mentioned, June 14th is our next event. It will be an OSU talk on nutrition. So please mark your calendars for that. That's it. If anybody doesn't have anything else though, we can wrap up.
I think I'm good. Don't forget, you can always contact any of your coaches. We love to hear from you.